Good morning. Hi, everybody. Hey, Tess. Hey, Tim. Good morning. And Lucy, because you're probably here too. Oh, I forgot to do something. Hang on one second. Okay, here we go. So today is Saturday, March 21st, and we're going to discuss some things. Maybe if you have a question, we'll discuss things. Otherwise, we'll just do meditation. Um, so please think about that. So welcome here for all who are joining in the live stream, and for those who are watching later, welcome also. Okay, so let's begin. So we want to start by I always just say settling in, but what I mean by that is just bringing the mind and the body together. Normally we're all over the place. Um, you know, we're sitting in our room or wherever we are, and our mind is in the past, our mind is planning for the future, our mind is in some fantasy land. So this beginning is just an invitation to bring the mind back to the present moment, so that we can do what we're here to do with some sense of awareness. So that's what I mean by settle in. So let's take a moment to do that. You can take a few breaths. Then we want to establish our bodhicitta motivation. So bodhicitta. So those of you who've been around for a while, think in your head, what does that mean? What does bodhi mean? And what does citta mean? Okay, so bodhi means awakened or enlightened. It's the same root as Buddha, bodhi. And citta means the mind and heart together. Hey, Melina, hey. Um, Citta means the mind and heart together. So what that means is, in the West, we separate them. We have the conceptually, right? We say like, oh, this is my mind is here, and my heart is here, and my mind is all the thoughts, and my heart is all the emotions. But according to Buddhism, it's really considered one. It's considered a unit. Yeah. So that's why mind dash heart means citta. So what is awakened mind heart? That's the etymology of the word bodhicitta. What is the definition of bodhicitta? And again, if you've been around and you've heard me say this a bajillion times, what is the definition of bodhicitta? Think about that for a second. Okay, so bodhicitta is the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So sentient means having consciousness. So not just human beings, but animals and beings in other realms as well. Okay, so whatever has a consciousness is sentient. So wishing to attain enlightenment for all sentient beings is bodhicitta. What does our attaining enlightenment have to do with anybody else? What do you think? I'm leaving pauses so you can come up with your own answer before I just spoon feed you. What does our enlightenment have to do with anybody else? So, unfortunately, it isn't possible to like make someone else enlightened. Yeah. Otherwise, we would all be enlightened because the Buddha would have done it when he attained enlightenment, right? So that is not possible. Um, However, we can benefit others. We can, once we attain enlightenment, the capacity that we have to benefit others is, as Rinpoche says, inconceivable. Right now, the benefit that we can provide to others is very limited. You know, um, Even if we're a great philanthropist or, you know, um, peace worker or whatever, it's still limited. This is one of the things that struck me when I was in India. But I'll talk about that once we actually get this motivation established. So I'm just going to put that aside for the moment. So, wishing to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So, when we attain enlightenment, we get rid of the cause of suffering, and that's the point. Okay. The cause of suffering, according to the Vajrayana, is this fundamental ignorance that we have. And it's not ordinary ignorance, there's just not enough words in the English language to describe a lot of this stuff. So we have to kind of come up with a paragraph definition instead of just a word, right? So the cause of suffering is fundamental ignorance. It's called Ma Rigpa. Rigpa is like awareness, kind of. It's a lot of words for awareness in Tibetan, sort of the fundamental awareness, basic awareness, foundational awareness. And Ma, in this case, is a negation. So Ma Rigpa is this fundamental ignorance. So it's not ignorance like ignorance of the law or ignorance of French or something like that, okay? It's this very deep, entwined with the ego, uh, ignorance about the nature of reality itself. So we're talking about something very intense, very, maybe intense isn't quite the right word, but deep, you know, and subtle. This awareness of reality itself as a whole, including how we are, who we are, how we function. Um, so, for example, like the I, as in I am, I like ice cream, whatever. Yeah, this I is really a problem. So, when we attain enlightenment, we are free from suffering once and for all because we have become free of that cause of suffering. Yeah. And once we attain enlightenment, we are free from the um, constraints of that ordinary beings have because we one understands, not just understands intellectually, but has realized the true nature of realities. So ordinary boundaries um, and concepts and things like that just don't hold anymore. They don't constrain one anymore. And because of that, we can um, directly benefit countless sentient beings. Okay. So this is like the definition of bodhicitta, but like, why should we develop bodhicitta? Why should we even care about bodhicitta? Um, where does bodhicitta come from? Okay. On the most subtle level, bodhicitta comes from our basic goodness. It's often called Buddha nature. I've talked about this many times. It's not my favorite descriptor because it sounds like everybody has a little Buddha in their heart, or, you have to be Buddhist or only Buddhists have it or whatever. Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche calls it basic goodness. Um, Not my favorite either. That's just me, my opinion. Um, Enlightened nature maybe is would be something that works, but it's this our true nature is like already has all the qualities of enlightenment, and the path is a matter of removing the veils to realizing that. Okay, the path is a matter of discovering or uncovering what we already have. It's not a matter of introducing into ourselves something that we don't have. Okay, so that's the sort of deeper kind of understanding of like where it comes from. It's actually something we already have. But what inspires, let's say, what inspires us to have bodhicitta is two things: compassion and wisdom. So compassion is seeing the suffering of others, and we have that like tug at our heart, like we don't want them to suffer. We want them to be happy. We want to do something to remove their suffering. That's compassion. But compassion is not enough to compassion alone is, although very necessary, is not on its own right enough to attain enlightenment. We need this other piece, this wisdom piece, which is what I discussed before. So the understanding of the nature of reality, understanding the cause of suffering. And that logically leads to, well, then I have to attain enlightenment. You know, in order to benefit these beings, I have to attain enlightenment. So I'm going to pause here just because I normally say a little prayer just asking for the blessings of the teachers. Um, we haven't even established our Bodhicitta motivation because I just wanted to talk about it. So let me just do that and then I'll continue. And Sandra Samgarab Shiri Sam Pemakara Japanishuna Susonat Nata Tinga Soso Katanamana Nasoade Omi Chiki Kipojane Tusum Senge Gunging Owani and some children Suntu Sepa Sawena Me Shapna Soade. So when I was saying that earlier that there's only so much we can do as ordinary beings to benefit others, it's always going to be limited. Okay. And when I was in India in the late 80s, uh, you know, I was new to Buddhism. I had been kind of a little bit introduced to it when I was in Japan, um, from 85 to 87. And I was going to a Zen temple there in my neighborhood. Um, and then I'd gone to Thailand and went to a retreat there in the Theravada tradition. And why did I start? What was I going to say? I lost my point. Oh, uh, what was I saying? Oh, I'm embarrassed. Okay, well, oh yes, I remember now. I remember now. So, this notion of kind of the limitations that we have, I sort of understood it intellectually, of course, but not really until I had. So at that point, okay, so I'd done a couple of retreats at this place in Thailand, and then I went to India. Well, I think I went to Nepal first and then India. Um, and I was sort of contemplating, you know, like, what do I want to do? You know, and I actually think at this point I had been practicing in the Theravada tradition for a year or more, and I had always wanted to work for Mother Teresa. So we were in Calcutta, and I decided to work at the orphanage there that she has in Calcutta. And I mean, I know Mother Teresa gets a lot of flack these days and has been kind of ripped down from her pedestal. I don't know about that. I haven't really looked into it. I've just seen things sort of on the fly. But at that point, that time, she was held in extraordinarily high esteem for her work with the poor in India. And so she was kind of considered like the pinnacle of charity work, right? And so I was very new to Buddhism at that time, and I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and kind of where I wanted to put um, my energies, let's say. And so I was excited to have this opportunity to volunteer at the orphanage of Mother Teresa. And it was a very intense and eye-opening experience there. There were cribs, like a big room of cribs, like like with almost no space between the cribs. There were so many kids, and they were just left in these cribs most of the day. They were understaffed, um, mostly by nuns, but they had some lay people working there as well. And I was in the section for the kids who had mental disabilities and physical disabilities. And, when we think of Mother Teresa, or at least at that time, we think of, gentleness and, love and great care and all that stuff. And it wasn't in evidence. Okay. There was a little girl, probably 5 years old ish, who they had tied by the wrist to a bed because she was misbehaving and she was crying a lot to be attached to this bed. The nuns were very rough with these children. They would, sort of pick them up by an arm and kind of throw them on this, like, not throw them, but set them on this concrete floor to take a bath, right? And just pour water on them, which was probably cold, and roughly scrub them with this really like chemical kind of soap, rinse them off, dry them off, back in the crib, you know, and they would force them to eat if they didn't want to eat. And there were kids there with, really serious disabilities. And it was hard to see, like I understood the practical reasons for this, which were understaffed, basically understaffed and not enough space, right? So you have so many children and not many people to take care of them. I don't know what the money situation was. I didn't wasn't privy to that. Um, and I don't know how these nuns viewed this work. I was very shocked by that. Um, and I remember holding a kid in my lap, one of these kids in my section, just holding him and kind of rocking him back and forth and sitting on the end of the bed. And these Japanese tourists like came through, and it was so unsettling. Um, and I had lived in Japan for a couple years by this point, and so I knew a little bit of Japanese. And they bring people through to get money from them. So again, it's an understandable situation. People want to see what the conditions are, and then it's an opportunity for the organization to get donations. It's not hard to understand, but it was hard to experience because it felt like being in a zoo. um, Having tourists kind of just gawk at these children, especially the ones in my care, kind of a big thing to say, especially the ones that I was helping to take care of. Um, anyway, I'm sitting on this bed, and they're kind of these Japanese tourists are like walking by and staring and gawking and all of that. And I was so upset, you know, that as the last one was leaving, I just said loudly, Dobutsu Enjinai, something like that. I don't remember if that's Japanese is right. But in Japanese, I said, "This is not a zoo." And the person kind of just stiffened like that. And it's not their fault, it's just my emotions getting the best of me. So seeing the reality of the situation in and of itself was very eye-opening. And then to walk out the door and just see more suffering like that, right? More suffering, more people dying on the street, more children without parents or being abused, more people starving. Like it was working there felt like a band-aid on a leg cut in half, you know. It, it was something, but it wasn't enough. And there would always be more. There would always be more. Um, And that was a very striking experience for me to kind of wake up to the reality of our limitations for what we can do for others. You know, it doesn't mean we shouldn't try to do anything for others. Of course, we should. We should do our very best to do as much as possible for others. But we need to understand, and that's what hit me at that point was, um, unless we're dealing with the cause of suffering, this fundamental ignorance, right? The suffering will always be there. The suffering will always continue. You know, if we don't remove the cause of something, then the result just keeps coming, doesn't it? So, if we have lung cancer or a lung problem and we just keep smoking, okay, we can take whatever medicine we want, but we're continuing the cause of our lung problem by smoking. So this is what I mean. And then, so this kind of thought occurred to me. And then when we went to Varanasi, um, I volunteered again at her place there. And this was a different situation. It wasn't the orphanage. It was, I don't know, kind of like an old age home with random other people there. And it was a better situation. It was not as crowded. And um, I liked very much that these people were very demanding, the old people in this place. Um, I liked it because I was like, yes, like they still had spunk, right? So they would boss me around. Give me this, give me that, get this thing for me. And I would just be laughing, just like, okay. And there was a little girl there who was probably about 9 years old, and she had some kind of mental disability also. And I would spend a lot of time with her. And she very kindly and generously gave me lice. So I didn't realize she had lice, and I didn't know from lice. And I noticed later, it's like, oh yeah, her hair was just full of eggs, and I had her head in my lap, and I was, caressing her head. And um, anyway, I decided to wash her pillow to get rid of eggs, and the nuns were mad at me for doing that. And again, as soon as I walked out the door of this place, there's just more people suffering, more people starving, more children begging, more. And so it was at that point that I really made the decision. No, I just want to walk this Buddhist path, because this is dealing with the cause. If we, again, it's not to say that we shouldn't do works of charity. Of course we should, you know, we should take care of our friends and family. We should take care of strangers. We should do all we can to bring peace into the world and, make things better for others. For sure, absolutely. And that is part of the teachings. But it's not enough. It's never enough to only do that. That's what I mean. We shouldn't only do that. We should do that in conjunction with our practice and study and meditation and contemplation so that we can attain enlightenment and be able to benefit not just 10, 20, or hundreds or thousands or millions of people and animals, but countless sentient beings. Is such a huge difference. And when we, you know, attain enlightenment, Tupa Rinpoche says, free of suffering once and forever. Or once and, what does he say? Yeah, that's what he says, once and forever. And I was struck, it's a little funny because we would say once and for all, right? But he says once and forever, free of suffering once and forever. So at that point, when one attains enlightenment, there's no more suffering. There's no more suffering because we have removed the cause of suffering. And when we attain enlightenment, our capacity for benefiting others, helping them. So we're not gifting enlightenment upon them because, as I said at the beginning, it's not possible. But we can do so many more things than we'll be able to do now to guide them, to help them to that point of them attaining enlightenment themselves. Yeah. So that's really bodhicitta when we, pardon me, say at the beginning of every session that we do, and the teachers always do this, the lamas always do this. Um, we want to establish our bodhicitta motivation. Why am I sitting here on a Saturday morning, you know, listening to a talk and doing meditation? Why am I doing my formal practice? Because I want to attain enlightenment. That's our reason. Even if our reason for coming here this morning was, I have nothing better to do, I don't know, know, or I just want to learn to meditate because I'm too tense, and that's okay. That's fine. We can come with whatever motivation we have, no matter how small or no matter how big. But if we came with that motivation, we just change it to a bodhicitta motivation. We're just extending it, expanding it, so that we include all sentient beings in our motivation, right? Why am I doing this? To attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. That might sound really big in comparison to what we're doing today, sitting for an hour, listening to me yatter on for half an hour, and then meditating for half an hour. How attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. Sounds ridiculous sometimes when we think of it, right? But attaining enlightenment is not a lightning bolt from the sky that just from one moment to the next we're enlightened. Attaining enlightenment is the cumulative effect of a bunch of little things that we do, including study, meditation, contemplation, working on ourselves from a day to day and in our day to day life. You know, all these little things come together eventually to enlightenment. So yes, we can use bodhicitta motivation for drinking a glass of water. You know, I'm drink this glass of water with the bodhicitta motivation. I'm going to soothe my thirst so that I can continue sharing the Dharma with people for the benefit of all beings. Now I'm drinking water with the bodhicitta motivation. Yay! Right? But especially when we're doing practice or study of the Dharma, we want to really make sure we're doing that because that's really powerful. So we want to really make sure we're doing that with our bodhicitta motivation. Okay, any questions before we move on? I'll give you a moment because I know there's a lag, but try to be quick because I don't want a lot of silent. Okay, I don't see any questions. All right, so we will do some meditation now. So we're going to begin with mindfulness of breathing practice. We're just going to do mindfulness of breathing practice today, actually. Give us a chance to go a little deeper than just 15 minutes. So I want to remind everyone that, these videos, we have a lot of videos on our channel. If you just want some guided meditation, you can always, take advantage of our videos, just forward to the point where meditation starts, which is usually around the half hour point, and then you have guided meditation whenever you want. I will explain a little bit, which is necessary because Luba, I'll explain a little bit because I never know who's here and who has instructions. But if you're confused, you can go back to older videos and have more explanation. All right, let's read Luba's question. Sometimes any religion, yes, even Buddhism feels like we are doing it for ourselves to feel better. That's right. So that's why bodhicitta motivation is so important. And that's what I was saying. Normally when people come to Buddhism, it's not because they're thinking, I want to benefit all beings, so I'm going to go to this meditation class. They're thinking of themselves. which again is totally fine, whatever brings you to it. And it's normal I mean, Buddhist teachings say that, we suffer and we look for relief from our suffering. Everyone wants to be happy. Nobody wants to suffer, right? So maybe usually it's when people come to meditation, it's for them to feel better themselves. So they're thinking like my incredible motivation when I first started in Thailand was like, oh, I have a lot of anger and I really want to work with that because I know it's not good for me and it's not good for other people in my life. That was my motivation. I'm too tense. I need to relax. That's very frequent motivation for people. Um, I need to calm down. Uh, you know, Sometimes people come because just they're curious, which again is a selfish, in quotes, self-focused um, motivation. Sometimes people come because, I don't know, their friends drag them and they maybe don't even want to be there. Um, but I don't think anybody, and I don't know, of course, I can't read people's minds, I don't know, but I doubt, let's say that, I doubt very, very much that anybody comes to meditation for the first time or comes to a class for the first time with the motivation of benefiting others, you know? And like I said, that's okay, it's totally normal, but we want to change that and we can change that to bodhicitta motivation. Then whatever we're doing becomes really more powerful. Even like I said before, like, oh, I'm going to drink this water with the bodhicitta motivation. Then drinking this water becomes extraordinarily powerful, very positive, yeah, and a step towards my enlightenment. Whereas if I'm just drinking it because I'm thirsty, it's not negative, but it's just kind of neutral. Doesn't really do much, right? So it's the same. We can just change our motivation, and we learn through the teachings, why we need this motivation and how to develop this motivation. Okay? So let's have that motivation for the meditation that we're about to do. So if you are sitting on the floor or you're sitting on your bed, you just want to cross your legs, crisscross applesauce, as they say, in whatever way is comfortable for you. If you're sitting on a chair, you want your feet flat on the floor because that will support the rest of the posture. Otherwise, all the instructions are the same, whether you're sitting on your bed or sitting in a chair. Try to guess what I'm going to say. Those who've been around for a while. Do you remember the different points, the 9 points of the Varochana or the meditation posture? What about the hands? What do you want to do with our hands? So we have 3 ways that we can put our hands: palms down on our legs or on our knees, palms resting one on top of the other in your lap, or with your fingers on top of each other and your thumbs touching like that, like you're holding a goose egg. Okay, that's like the most formal, called meditation mudra. Yeah, whatever way of those 3 is comfortable. You want your arms relaxed, so you're not holding them in, you're not holding them out. What would be the next thing I say? Do you remember? Your back should be straight. That's the most important thing. Okay, so not like, not with tension, right? Just straight. So you're not, usually we're not paying much attention. We might be kind of slumping or even leaning to one side. Let's want that back straight, but relaxed. Back of the neck is also straight. Chin's going to be tucked in a little bit. So we're not doing that. And we're certainly not doing that. Okay. Just shoulders should be back a little bit. They say your shoulders should be like a vulture's wing. Like, I'm sure we've all seen vultures in our backyard. You know what they mean, right? And just shoulders should be back a little bit. Mouth is closed but relaxed. So we're not doing that. We're not sitting like that. Just closed but relaxed. Tongue is resting on the roof of the mouth. Breathing through the nose. The eyes are half open. Okay, so we're looking downwards, a few feet in front, the relaxed, lowered, unfocused gaze. Okay, a lot of times people want to meditate with their eyes closed. The problem with that is that it's much easier to fall asleep with our eyes closed. And, we're running all day typically, if not physically, then mentally. Um, and sometimes the moment we sit down to meditate is like maybe the first time that we're a little calm and quiet. And then, you know, so we want to avoid that. Keeping the eyes open is helps with that. The other reason we want to meditate with our eyes open is we're trying to develop awareness in life. And if we can sort of only bring our mind into the present moment, only be aware with our eyes closed, a little problematic, right? How are we going to drive with awareness or wash the dishes with awareness or talk to our friends with awareness or whatever? So, this is helping the mind, helping to um, practice being aware in the present moment, no matter what we're doing. Also, and this is not from the teachings, this is just from science, different parts of our brain are affected, of course, makes sense, right? Different parts of our brain are affected if we are sitting with our eyes closed versus half open. So if you're uncomfortable, which a lot of people are, like I was, because when I first learned to meditate in Thailand, I was taught with my eyes closed. Um, then what you can do is just alternate, start with your eyes half open, and when that just gets to be too much, close your eyes for a little bit. When you feel it's the right time, open them again, like that, just alternating until you get comfortable with always keeping them open, half open. So that's the posture. What we're doing with our body is to support our mind in meditation. So what are we doing with our mind then? Okay. We are trying to maintain continuous awareness of the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. That's the goal, in quotes. So we want to focus on the sensation at the end of our nostrils of the breath coming in and out. We could focus on anything, okay? We could focus on a tree in front of us. We could focus on sound. We could focus on sensation. There's a lot of things. But the Buddha taught uh, mindfulness of breathing as the first meditation, because the breath is always with us as long as we're alive. It's there. We don't have to get a special tool. We don't have to get a prop. It's just our breath. Yeah. So take a moment, please, to just notice that sensation and then I'll continue. So just notice that, please. Okay. So that's what we're trying to maintain awareness of. Please understand that we're not trying to stop thinking. It's a common misconception and it will frustrate you. So what we're trying to do is maintain continuous awareness of that sensation of the breath as the focus of our awareness while just letting the thoughts come and go on their own. Thoughts are they're just gonna continue, you know, but a thought will arise. It'll dwell for a certain amount of time, it will disappear. It'll be immediately replaced typically by another thought, which will dwell and then disappear on its own, etc. Okay. What we normally do when we're not meditating is to just run after all these thoughts. Yeah. We identify with them very strongly as me. We let them just take over our will and our actions and our words. And this is another thing we work with in meditation. Yeah. So if we're sitting and we're just letting those thoughts happen without judgment, without getting involved, then we start to get some freedom from that tyranny of emotions that we're normally enslaved by. Yeah. Um, However, because of strong habits, we are going to get distracted and start running after a thought. Yeah. But as soon as we notice, oh, I got distracted, I'm supposed to be meditating, don't spend time on that. Don't waste energy on that. Just, oh, yeah, okay, bring the mind back. It's not a big deal. All right. This is this is the practice where uh, we're like we know what the mind is like, or we're getting used to what the mind is like when we're in a state of awareness, mindfulness, and then we're learning what it feels like when we're distracted. Oh, that's distraction. And then, very importantly, we're learning to bring the mind back from distraction to awareness. That's the practice. Okay? All right, let's do it, guys. Take the posture. Bring your awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. And try to maintain continuous awareness of that sensation, letting the thoughts come and go as they will, like clouds in the sky. When you get distracted, simply bring the mind back. Please begin that now. You can begin to count the breaths, counting either every in breath or every out breath, or a total of 10 complete breaths. Counting can help us realize more quickly if we've gotten distracted because we will have lost count, right? So I don't know, let's say you get to three and your mind goes racing off in some direction, spurred by a thought that you had. You'll suddenly realize you don't know where you are between 1 and 10. So you want to count up to 10 complete breaths, right? And you go, oh gosh, got totally distracted. Bring the mind back, start again at 1. Maybe you never get beyond 3, man. For me, when I started, it took me, I think, 2 months to get beyond 4. Crazy. If you get to 10 without losing count, without getting terribly distracted, sometimes that will distract you. Ooh, I made it to 10. Oh, I'm going to be enlightened tomorrow. Don't want to do that. Okay. Just, 10. Okay. Go back to 1, start again. So please begin the counting now, if you like. Thank you. Okay, and the meditation here. And we will time to do the closing prayers. Not obliged to join if you don't want to, of course, but please wait because there's a few announcements after, okay? So these days, for whatever reason, we are just going to do everything in English. I don't know. It's nice just to do things in English sometimes. Just looking for the share button. Change things. There we go. Okay. You can download these. There's a link in the description box below, but I always share because I don't know who's here. So we do these long life prayers for our teacher, beginning with the Dalai Lama, and then Jigme Khyentse Rinpoche, Pema Rinpoche, and then all the teachers. And this is kind of an aspiration, like we call it prayers, but it's not the same as in Christianity or whatever. It's like may this happen, it's kind of putting that energy, putting that intention out into the world. And we really want our teachers to live a long time because they're so invaluable and we need them so much. And if I talk about it more, I'm going to cry. So we'll just say these prayers, starting with the Dalai Lama. In the celestial realm, encircled by snow peaks, you are the source of every happiness and benefit. Tenzin Gyatso Avalokiteshvara himself, may your lotus feet remain firm for 100 eons. Om Swasti, in the vast expanse of your fearless wisdom, shine the 100,000 cooling light rays of your all-pervading great love, dispelling the anguish of beings in this degenerate age. O supreme jewel of space, region of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, remain with us continuously, we pray. Om Swasti, through dependent causation and the blessings of the infinity of long life deities, may Pema Wangyal, prophesied magical emanation of the toppling sacral, be firm in body, speech, and mind like the king of the sounding drum, Amitabha, and may the great waves of his wishes for the teachings and beings spread out to their ultimate extent. We pray for the good health of the lamas. We pray for their precious lives to be long. We pray for their activities to spread and increase. May we be blessed, never depart from them. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy, wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may I free all beings. May Bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has risen, may it never fail, but grow and flourish ever more and more. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. Ever absorbed in the display of divine forms and primordial awareness, appearance, sound, and perception in the state of divinities, mantras, and dharmakaya, may I, inseparable from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attain within the essence of mind the state of one taste. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajra Sattva Tenova Tishta Drito Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Subokayo Me Bhava Anurakto Me Bhava Soa Siddhi Me Prayatsa Soa Karma Sutsa Me Chitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Om Bhagavan so atata gata vajrama me munsa vajri bhava maha samaya sattva. Okay, now for some announcements. First of all, we have meditation every Saturday, except if we're on break or if I'm unable to for whatever reason, but normally we have it always on Zoom. And the second Saturday of every month, we also have it in person at the Lakewood Library. Why, hey, Eileen, thank you. Um, so let me pull up the calendar here one second. And I have 3 times a month, we have Buddha Day practice according to the lunar calendar. So the next one is this coming Thursday, the 26th at 6 p.m. It's 6 to 6:30. It's such a beautiful practice. I really hope you can join us for that. You can always look at our calendar on our website, buddhistcleveland.org. Again, ton of links below, and join us for that. What else? Well, we'll have a new class coming up in April or May, called Women of Wisdom. It's part of our the Feminine Force in Buddhism series. So please look forward to that. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, you better do that. Don't make me come over there. Please do that. That's really the best way to know what's going on. What else? Let's see. Da, 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 da. I was fostering a dog called Ginger at the she's currently at the Cuyahoga County Animal Shelter in Valley View. You guys, she's so sweet. She's so cuddly. Oh my God. Please adopt her. She's 4.5 years old. She probably weighs about 45, 50 pounds. Very affectionate, you know. Um, she's just a sweetheart. So please go, at least go have a look at her. And if you don't feel connected with her, they have a bunch of other dogs there that need to be adopted. So please think about that. If you are able to make donations, we very much appreciate it. We do always need money, and I don't like asking for it. Nobody does. But that's part of the tradition in Buddhism from the time of the Buddha, that people make donations to make sure that the Dharma can continue. So if you have the means, that would be great. If you can give $5, fantastic. If you can give $5,000, fantastic. You know, um, Again, information for how to do that is below. What else? Like, subscribe, comment, share. We want to bring more people the opportunity, want to give more people the opportunity to learn about the Dharma. What else? That's it. That's it. I want to thank you so much for coming this morning or for watching the video later. It means a lot to us. And I don't know. Have a great weekend. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you. See you later.